Today I wanted to talk about this book, which is Maggie the Mechanic. It's a collection of the stories about the characters Maggie and Hopi in the early years of the Hernandez brothers' comic book Love and Rockets. And I should note that I probably feel like I could have gotten this other book called Locas, which is a large compendium of the entire Maggie and Hopi stories, but apparently some are missing, so this way you get all of them, though you buy it piecemeal. I'm not sure if I can buy so many of these books collections, so maybe better to get the compendium. But basically, and after saying that, and mentioning, I think as everyone mentions when reviewing this book, that the science fiction elements go away and it focuses more on the characters in 1980s teenage punk Hispanic scene, or Latino scene. And basically it's really involving, really good, and but I can't do this review now because I think the walls are too thin, and I bet my voice is bleeding through the walls, and I kind of want to wait until the house is empty. But I'll just say that the characters of Maggie and Hopi are pretty much, what a lot of people is the central thing, although I think it's much, in some ways it's subtle here, even though it eventually becomes the main story, as I've read. But here there's other random adventures that are supposedly the main story. I'd say that kind of relationship, the relationship of two friends who kind of, it's not also very clear whether or not it's it is apparently a sexual relationship, though it's never explicitly stated, although they sleep in the same bed together. There's a lot of things to say about this. This book primarily made me kind of sad for Jaime Hernandez, because it basically, it starts off to me in the way that visually a lot of guys who are comics fans, in particular here, science fiction, cheesy science fiction, and Archie comics are influences. But basically it starts off with independent, lively young women as heroes, with aestheticized bodies, and drawn very well. And then it proceeds to, and it makes them very, multifaceted. And then and the men are minor background characters, which is a switcheroo for a male author sometimes, and a lot of times I interpret that stuff as a fetish, or something which, I don't know. I mean, these characters are women in love, and basically when males make stories about women lovers, or use women lovers in softcore porn, to me it represents the idea of freedom from responsibility for heterosexual males, the idea of not having to worry about performance or something. And here what is interesting is, number one, it's purposely ambiguous, at least at first, whether or not there's characters are constantly going up to Hopi and stating that she is obviously in love with Maggie, and we never really get to see Hopi really upset or pining so much. There's one panel where it moves in on her and she's obviously upset and jealous for Maggie, and we get maybe a few moments where she thinks in her head about being upset that Maggie's with a guy or interested in some guy, but it seems what's interesting about Hopi is that she's made a decision that although Maggie will drool over other men, as a character says, over men, Hopi is content with sleeping in the same bed with her and a casual sexual relationship, but they don't. It's a trade-off, and it's a very clear and conscious trade-off. And people who she encounters verbalize how that might be upsetting to her if she's in love with Maggie, but she never verbalizes it, which I think is really interesting. And in fact, well, hold on. This scene to me is the major scene in this collection. This once again this piecemeal collection, though probably more comprehensive than the other one. But basically, Hopi's ex-lover Terry is basically saying that it's probably torture for you to live with a girl you love who wants guys all the time, and basically is not isn't that torture? Although she's really simply just saying that it's torture for her to see Hopi with this girl, oblivious to her. And I think that's what's really interesting about Hopi, is the look on her face right here, where she's the one in the background, where she basically is content to be second banana to Maggie, and it's just you don't see that a lot in a lot of these relationships in pop culture, will they or won't they, sexual tension relationships or whatever. They don't. I don't know. This is a gambit that she's making, and I don't know. I think that's really probably one of the weirdest things